Hey, we're GineOn. Today we are going to be sitting down talking with Alison Saunders, who is a Caribbean filmmaker. She's also the producer, writer, and director of Panama Dreams, and her international debut for the film is going to be coming out very, very shortly. So come, sit down, listen to the chat, and find out what's going on. My first thing is, you have quite an extensive bio that we read earlier, but how has it been being a Black female and Caribbean filmmaker?
Well, we've mainly been operating in the Caribbean space, so being Black in the Caribbean hasn't really been a challenge as such, I don't think. It's not something that was, top of mind for me. But, and being female, to be honest, I don't think that was the issue. I think the challenge really was that doing film, when I started, which was about 13 years ago, I started to develop a film, and raise money for a film. Doing that was just so new. At the time, no one had had a commercial film as such, that people paid to go in the cinema and so on. By the time I actually brought out Hit for Six, we were the third feature film to be made in Barbados, and I would think the second that was probably shown commercially, and the first to be exported commercially and internationally in festivals and so on. I believe the first film too may have been shown in festivals, but the commercial export was certainly something that I felt we needed to be able to do as Barbadians, to share our stories and to do so in a way that people would pay like any other film to go see. So that was certainly the big mountain to climb to make that happen, and to get the film made in the first place was very, very challenging. But I've been pleased. So I shifted more to, after that, it is, it was very expensive at the time. It's less so now, because when I did it, we had to have films shown in the cinema, we had to have reels, and I spent massive amount of money having work done overseas in New York and so on to convert to celluloid, and then even the trailers had to be on celluloid. It's very, very expensive, and have those reels sent around the Caribbean, and we've had a distributor, and they have to get their cuts, and it was legal fees, and it was really a very challenging experience. So I decided that financially it was so challenging that I would, for the minute, try to focus on television, and while looking at how we could get another, narrative made and film made. So that's how I got into doing Bank on Me, and I'm doing another home makeover series as well. But pleased to say that on March the 17th, I'm releasing another film, a feature film. It's a docudrama, and that's Panama Dreams.
Why that medium? Why not write a book, write a biography or something like that?
I love films. I love going to the cinema. I like the cinema experience. I'm not one of those persons. I don't enjoy it as much watching it on my little computer or on TV. I like to go to the cinema with people and sit in the dark and have that fabulous collective experience. And I thought, why can't I do that with a film from Barbados? That always bothered me. So 13 years ago, I was on a MBA course here at UE, and my group decided they liked my vision of having a film company and producing feature films, and we did that as our project, and I got an E.
We're going to go into now more about the cultural industries, because you are and were an advocate for the cultural industries, especially where it relates to the film industry here in Barbados. Have you seen any progress since that bill has been passed?
Oh, there's lots positive. We worked, I chaired the advocacy committee of the Film and Video Association, which I was part of founding, again because I saw a gap, that there was a need, and others saw it as well, for an association for filmmakers. And I said I would stick with that committee until we got two things: a film commission and an act with incentives. And so I gather that a company has taken advantage, or an individual, of the provisions in the act, which is that you get your tax, a tax write-off of 100% of the investment that you make. So that's a start. So I hope that many more people out there, many more investors and individuals who want to support the arts, and there's no risk to you, you're going to get your money back, and you can do a good thing at the same time, and you might even make some money, because I think people are beginning to be able to make money.
All right, so Panama Dreams, it is coming out just around the corner. Tell us about Panama Dreams, why you decided to do this film, the concept behind it, all the good things.
Yeah, well, it's a personal journey, because I had heard from family, and I spoke to my mother about it, that an ancestor named Prince Collymore had gone to Panama, and nobody knew much about it. And I said, well, I have to find out, because this is so amazing. When I researched, the Panama Canal, and the 40,000 Bajans went there and built the canal, and they're the single largest group, at least 40,000. They're probably more than that. Some people say 60,000, which would have been a third of the population at the time, 180,000 people around the early 1900s. So I felt that this, again, another gap in our consciousness, that I certainly wasn't conscious of it until, when I started this journey. So I started that journey of discovery shooting in Panama and Cuba, because a lot left and went to Cuba. Since 2011 I started, but as I said, I was doing other things and trying to raise money for it. So I'd do a little bit and I'd stop for a long time and then pick it back up. And when I went there and got integrated into the community over there, the Barbadian community, the West Indian community, which is more how they see themselves. It was amazing for me too to discover that we were losing that connection to the Caribbean. So the older persons had a kind of nostalgia that their parents would have told them about the Caribbean, and so, but the younger persons were becoming increasingly disconnected from us. And these are our people. And I think there's a lot for them to be proud of, and I've found that the younger you were, the less pride you had in what your ancestors had achieved. And we over here, but we had no clue at all. So I felt that it was a worthy story to tell, and even though it's taken so long, I'm really excited to share it with the world, not just Barbados, but we want to share it, in the rest of the Caribbean. We had a preview in Trinidad at the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival, where it was very well received. That was not the full version, because it didn't have the Cuba element in it. So this is the first time that the piece with everything, is all the outcomes and the Cuban element and so on, are included, that has been shown.
So why then should people come to see this film? I know you're talking about learning about your ancestry. I myself, talking to my mom, she told me my great-great-grandmother was one of the people who had migrated to go over by the canal and whatnot. So why is it so important then for people younger than myself to even go there to watch this film to figure out what it is about their culture that probably intersects?
Well, I figure that almost every Barbadian has some ancestor who went to Panama, because if you're talking 40,000, 60,000 people, that's practically, everybody must be connected to somebody. And so like you did, I would like people to ask their parents, ask their grandparents. And we want to do a thing on the Facebook page, Panama Dreams, a Facebook page. You just put that in where we're going to encourage people to post their stories, even if it's just that you know your grandfather went, this is his name or whatever. And maybe we can get that interaction where people say, well, yeah, I'm related to, you know, so-and-so, and find out more. And just it'd be a fun thing, I think, for us to see how we are all connected. In terms of the importance of it, I think that you know, if you don't have an appreciation of the achievement of your ancestors, it really, you're missing out. Because I am so empowered by knowing about my ancestors. I'm fortunate in that I've had a genealogist through this project go right back to slavery. So I know my enslaved ancestors, Catherine and Jacob Collymore, and I know what they did, what they achieved. You know, they were able to bring my great-grandfather out of poverty to be a principal of a primary school, and he's in the film. And because my mother remembered him, and I was able to find out that his parents were enslaved persons, and he became a principal of a primary school in Speightstown, a Methodist school. And I have a picture of him and his family. And that for me has been just so empowering. Well, I mean, and it's docudrama in that it has, I mean, we're using the term to convey what it is. It has large sequences of acting, of dramatic sequences in the narrative genre. And it's entertaining, you know, particularly the reenactments that we do. And we have excellent actors. The lead Prince is played by Adrian Green. And we have Panama Man played by Di Brown. And then there's a role played very skillfully by Patrick Foster. And Marcus Myers is in it. We have Philip Eno is in it. He plays my great-grandfather. And then I even have a cousin of mine who's living here. She's playing our great-grandmother, but it's a small part. But it's kind of fun because she really is a member of the family. So it's been, the costuming is great by Glenn Genke Brathwaite. We put a lot of effort into that. The music is amazing by Andre Woodvine. So we have a really A-class team. My editor and cinematographer, who has been with me on this journey forever, is so patient and gone with me all over the world with this thing, is Shane Holford. And Shane, I'm pleased to say, won 2 awards at the BFEAs for the film, for the editing and the cinematography. We were nominated in 6 categories, yes. And he really deserves that because he's worked really hard, you know, for a very long time, because we had so much material that we had to work through. And young people, we followed a young lady from Combermere graduate as she went on a journey of discovery as well. So it's something, I think, for everyone. I think the kids are going to enjoy it. We're having the schools in for the 22nd, 23rd, 24th of March. And we hope they get behind the teachers, they decide, you know, to come out. And social studies, theater studies, history, even if you're thinking in terms of understanding the Latin cultures. Caribbean people play a big part in Latin America that is totally lost that we do. This is not the only place. Costa Rica and Colombia, we have representations of Caribbean culture. You know, to get to this point, I couldn't have done it without the support of many entities, you know, and I think it's important for us as filmmakers to acknowledge those. In making the film, it was Caribbean Export that started with us in terms of research phase. Then we had support from the Port of Barbados, Inc., who twinned with a port in Panama. So they had an interest in the educational aspect of it. And we also had support from the Arts and Sports Fund. With the premiere, we're pleased to have the sponsorship of the Barbados Tourism Product Authority. Really thankful to them. The National Cultural Foundation, who have demonstrated over the years, you know, their commitment to the development of social history and culture. And the MSI International, which is a design and communications firm, who are assisting us as well. So we want to really say a big thank you to all of them.
His name was Prince, and he went to work in the Panama Canal, but somehow or other they lost touch with him, and nobody knows what became of him.
It was after that conversation with my mom in 2011 that I discovered that I was connected to one of the 7 wonders of the modern world, and I wanted to know more. After lengthy research, I found out that Prince Collymore had departed Barbados for Panama in 1907. One of over 40,000 Barbadians and thousands of other Caribbean people who had traveled to Panama in the early 1900s to build a canal during the American phase of construction. I dreamt of this renegade ancestor of mine. I wondered what pushed him to go to an unknown, rugged Spanish-speaking country from the plantation life of a tiny Caribbean island.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I don't know how I'm gonna make it on my own. Oh God.
This is the last chance I got.
Hit the manager on the head and come. We're going to Panama.
He says we gotta take care of y'all niggers so that we can finish the job they started. Okay, so back to work. You island boys just too lazy to do the work on this thing.
Yeah, I would do his thing.
I regard the whole experience of going to Panama as the most transformative event that occurred in the West Indies.
Who was involved in building the Panama Canal?
There's a great deal of shame within their hearts, their minds, about their history, their culture, where they came from.
Most of the people do not like blacks in the country, but they don't come up and they don't make it visible. Deep down, there's still a lot of resentment to West Indian because there was faith put that the canal would build a nation. And in the building of the nation, the people from the country would be better. And they considered that the West Indian came and took away the right for the Panamanian, from the Panamanian because they was employed in the canal zone.